Trade Genius.
What's up, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, well, we're going to take a look now that we've wrapped up the year 2018. Now we're into 2019, made it. We're going to take a look starting off with the quarterly chart. I won't go into a yearly chart just because there's really not enough data there to really show us anything trend worthy. But if we look at the quarterly, obviously big red bar from when we broke that 6,000 resistance, right? So we broke that down and really basically wicked down to these, almost to this level of this prior quarter. This is Q1 here, actually Q2 of 2017. We made a high of 29.84. I think, guys, that we may see that tested. We may see that tested. Only because normally when you have large moves down like this bar here, you normally will see the market try to test those prior lows. So we had a low of 31.48, but we have this gap from this Q2 2017 with a high of 29.84. It could hold these lows, don't get me wrong, but probabilities state that you're probably going to test the low of this larger bar. What we'd like to see is a wick down and then back above that low in this quarter, and I think that would probably bode pretty well for the price. What we want to see ultimately, guys, is a move where we get above a monthly close or a quarterly close with some decent volume. And I think once you see that, you'll get basically probably a high probability that the major bottom is in for this corrective cycle. But right now there's no signs of that, and in fact we're probably going to have to brace for more downside. But first, we've got some upside to take care of, as we'll see on the lower time frames. Okay, let's take a look at the monthly chart. All right, guys, so the monthly chart, and again, obvious downtrend, right? Now what's interesting about this here though on the monthly is that this candle here put in a doji. What's interesting is we did eke out a low, but then we closed back above these prior lows. That's known in the trading circles as a swing failure pattern. So it'll be interesting to see if this can hold. But again, that quarterly candle, a lot of times what will happen is you may see a retest. What would change the outlook on that is if we got a nice strong close in this month above this previous candle. So we're looking for a close above this 42.86 level. But you have to keep in mind that we have very now strong resistance around this 6,000 level that we broke. So I think that's really going to cap anything to the upside. We do have a trend line on this chart also too that's going to be somewhat of a lid on this move. Okay, so until we can break back above that as well, it's going to be a tough nut to crack. But so we may see a move up, but if we get up to this 52.50 level and then that trend line is going to really come into play, and that's why I think we'll probably not really retest this 6,000 level on this next move up just yet. All right, okay, let's take a look at the weekly chart, and we're going to go to the Coinbase charts for that. All right, guys, so the weekly chart, what we've got basically is again, we came down. I had a rough support level here of about 3,500 on the weekly time frame, just because we came up, kind of had wicked off this level here, and then so I was looking for rough support in this area, which we kind of got. Also, this large block is basically what I consider going to be the consolidation playground, and that's based off of this level here on the chart, where we had this area of where price was fighting back in September. This was like the Jamie Dimon low, and then price broke through it. So on a range level, expecting, when we came down into this, I said, I know this is a large range, but expect price to not just bust through this at one time. In fact, we may range for a while in this area. So we could, I think more or less, we're going to range up and down until we meet up with this trend line. That'll be an interesting interaction there, because I think ultimately we'll probably see some sellers try to step in there. What's interesting about the levels here is that you see we've got a volume node here, right? So this volume node here, and we've kind of consolidated in there. Now, again, the risk in why I said that we can probably expect to see some lower lows is because of this volume node here, okay? And so that level there, and we also have some fib extensions that are down here as well. So 2,500 is definitely a realistic downside target, but not yet, I don't think. We've got this smaller trend line that is in play. I think because of the formation that we have currently, we have to be basically expecting that we may see some upside moves though. But again, when we're talking about these levels here, it would be after we consolidate and see if we can get a move up first, and then the potential rollover is what we have to key in on. Let's look at the daily. All right, guys, daily chart. Basically, you know, we have this inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? We've been talking about this. Again, we said when it was back over here, you know, don't expect this thing just to rocket off yet. Expect a pullback, which we did get. It is holding here, but if we start chewing on this 3,600 level, we start chewing on that, I would say be prepared for a breakdown and testing new lows. We could see as low as 2,900 on this go around. And that's why I was saying on the quarterly charts, you got to be careful on those big bars like that probabilities are you test lower. Now, what we're looking for though is if we can start chewing into this 4,000 level and this 4,200 level, start chewing into those levels, and that's probably going to break to the upside, and ultimately we're going to probably see a run up toward this 5,200 level. Okay, so but it's going to be contingent on how we react at these levels here, because you're going to see shorts come in at 4,000 and 4,200. If it breaks through that with big volume, then with pretty high probabilities we're going to see 5,200. Now, if we chew on this 3,600 level, be very careful, because Bitcoin, when it starts chewing on levels, it tends to break through them. And so just be careful, because we are kind of consolidating here. If it starts to dip down, I'd be leery of anything. We already took a long in the room off of 3,500, worked out really well. But if this chews on this again, I would be looking for probably a possible breakdown at that point, where it would open up some shorting opportunities, and we wait for smaller time frames to confirm that. And then that would take us down to about 2,900 on the first go around would be probably the target, and as low as 2,500, but we need to see how price and volumes reacts at that point. So that's on the daily chart. So guys, monthly to recap, quarterly pretty bearish. Probability is we see some more downside, okay? But we're close to a bottom. We're close to a bottom, and we'll get into that on subsequent videos because of just where we are in the halvening cycle. Monthly chart, we put in a doji, and that actually looked pretty good as far as technicals go. So that's why I'm leaning toward a bounce up first before we see any more downside. And if that bounce up actually has enough volume, it is possible that we have seen the lows, but quarterly is voting against that. So we're in a little bit of a juxtaposition. And in the daily chart, we're still working on this head and shoulders with obviously some resistance right above. And I think there's some risk reward plays that we're going to talk about in the room that are doable here, but it's going to be kind of tight because we are just kind of sandwiched in between levels here right now. So we'll see what happens as we approach 4K. If we approach 4K, otherwise 4K is the first level to look at, and then back down toward this 3,500 if we get down there. I think those are going to be key levels that are going to basically cause a reaction one way or the other as far as breakouts are concerned. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the weekly outlook. Took care of the quarterly, the monthly, the daily, the weekly. So, and in the room, we'll be talking about setups, binary options, ETFs, alts, and Bitcoin setups. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.